I encourage you to reach out to your local rape crisis center. I truly do. Even if you don't go in, there's online support. They're a phone call away. Like, no matter what budget conversation you hear, we are still here to pick up that phone to support you in every aspect that you need.
Welcome to Grow Healthy, Help People, a podcast that Accordis puts out. And today we have the joy of talking with Yolanda Edrington from Respect Together. Yolanda, welcome to the podcast this morning.
Hello, thanks for having me.
So today I'm calling from Tennessee. I'm talking to you from Tennessee. You're calling in from where?
Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Is that where you were born and raised and been there for a long time?
No, I've been here a long time, but I am a military brat, so I lived in multiple states growing up, and then we settled here.
I love that. So you've been there for a long time, but have you lived all over the world or just all over the US?
All over the U.S., yes.
That's great. I love that. So you work with Respect Together now, but from I was looking at your resume, it seems like you've had a number of different steps along the journey. Where are some other places that you've worked? Have those been in the for-profit sector or the nonprofit sector historically?
So all nonprofit, I've been in the helping, I always say the helping system for almost 30 years. All nonprofit coming from community correction centers. People would think that's for profit, but it actually, the one I worked at was a nonprofit, to alternative education in a nonprofit space, to American Cancer Society, providing education there. And then to, let me see, Hamilton Health Center. I love that organization. That's also a local organization. To here, starting in the late 90s, actually at the Community Correction Center. I always like to bring that up because that's where my journey started, really in the helping system and HIV prevention. So, and that has journeyed me all the way through of all these connections I've made in Central PA have all been because of HIV prevention.
That's great. So how did you first get started in that first job in the nonprofit world?
Oh, it was an opening. I had a friend that worked there, and she knew I needed a job, and she told me about it. But I got to meet some really good clients, and the executive director at the time was a former warden from Texas, and he took a shine to young Yolanda. I think I might have been 19 or 20, and our probation officer took a shine. So we got really close, and they just talked me through like, what did I really want to do? I was a young parent, and they really just kind of like handheld me through the system. It's like, what's your passion? What's your this? I met a lot of clients, just like other people that are getting in the helping system. They have family members or friends that are experiencing different things, and it like revs your heart up of their experiences are a lot of harm and a lot of trauma coming back into the community and of how they're being judged and seen, and that just changed my world.
That's awesome. I get to talk with a lot of people that are passionate about one thing and they start one nonprofit and that's all they've ever known. I'm specifically excited about talking with you because you've been around other organizations. You've seen how nonprofit organizations run, so you have a lot of experience. You said 30 years of experience in this type of role. So tell me more about Respect Together. Where did it begin? I saw that it started 25 or so years ago. Where did it begin? Or maybe even more than that. Where did it begin and where is it today?
So Respect Together is technically 50 years old.
50. Okay.
Yes, we just turned 50 this year. So Respect Together originated as the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Rape. So started 50 years ago to support the needs from the rape crisis centers in Pennsylvania. So a group of executive directors of rape crisis centers in Pennsylvania came together and recognized that the different needs that they had for legislation at the Capitol, at the Hill, that they couldn't do on their own, and they needed a coalition to be able to support or represent them all together as a collective. And that's how the coalition got started, was just the representation, and it has grown across. So 25 years after that, then the national division of the organization started, and then we recognized the name of the organization wasn't suiting us anymore, and so 3 years ago we rebranded as Respect Together to represent the two divisions. So we have the state coalition, which is the Pennsylvania Coalition to Advance Respect, PCAR, and then we have the national division, the National Sexual Violence Resource Center, which is our audiences across the United States, the tribal communities and the territories.
That's awesome. So it seems to me like there's two, probably a whole lot of things you do, but it seems to me there's a program side, which is supporting people that are in crisis, but there's also the legislative side, which is changing the landscape of how this could look and how people are supported by our governments in the future. Tell me more about the different things you guys do on the legislative side, but then also in the program side with individuals that are struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. You caught me on a perfect day. So, right before this meeting, we were meeting with staffers of different legislators here in the state of Pennsylvania because if you don't know, Pennsylvania is the only state that has not passed a budget. So, we are a little over 120 days of a budget not being passed, and then also with the federal budget also as a freeze. So, here we are, 47 rape crisis centers, and here's a state coalition to represent the need that's coming out of it. So there's no money coming. So the grants that are supposed to come to the rape crisis centers to be able to provide the life-saving services for survivors of sexual harassment, assault, and abuse, it's not coming. So we met with staffers and legislators this morning to be able to speak, for them to hear our voices. And we've had a lot of press conferences over the last 120 days for them to understand, like, when the funding is frozen, it's not coming, what happens, and our role is to represent that, and to stand beside, not just providing trainings, and we have our legal assistance, what is direct services, on the ground services to survivors, but also as a coalition to utilize our voice and push for legislative change and to make sure that folks know what happens in communities really does affect the safety and the health of the communities when these budgets aren't passed. Like, we have one center that, and that's the center in Philadelphia, the only sexual violence center in Philadelphia, went from 30 staff to 5 staff to service the full Philadelphia. So it's that type of impact that we need to be able to represent. And then, on the program side, for whether that's on our national side or our state side, we're able to provide trainings, resources to do all of that legwork so that our members are, whether it's the rape crisis centers on the state side or our health departments, CDC, all those different things, we provide those resources for them. On the national side, we have the largest library with over 58,000 unique titles to sexual harassment, assault, abuse, the whole gamut on our library, so that people can have the resources that they need, the trainings that they need to be able to have the safer, healthier communities. And then in-house, on our state division, we have our legal assistance program. So when people are, and again, in the need of legal assistance, sexual assault survivors, that they are able to come straight into the office and be able to have that. And that's quickly, in a nutshell, the full gamut of Respect Together, when you talk about national, state, the program, support, legislative. You called it perfect timing to be able to see how we advocate for our for survivors, for centers, and also just across PA and national.
Tell me more about the local centers. I'm not well versed in how these local centers
Absolutely.
serve individuals, people that are, saying, hey, coming forward, it's hard to come forward, I would imagine, and say, hey, this has happened one time, this has happened hundreds of times. I've been caught in a relationship or in a domestic situation or whatever it is. Do they find an 800 number, or do they search online and find somebody in their local area? Or how do people that are coming forward to get help find the local centers?
Yeah, so it depending on, I'll pull up our 800 number, but depending on where you're at, so you can, in Pennsylvania, we have 211. So you can just call 211 and it'll take you to the service that you need. And I know this because of the almost 30 years of working in helping systems. And I say 211 because people come with different needs. So I wanted to start there because our rape crisis centers, some are specific, just when to think of language, are specific standalones. That means they service only sexual assault survivors. And then we have our dual programs. And when we say dual program, that means they service domestic violence and sexual assault. And then we have our comprehensive centers, so that's domestic violence, sexual violence, stalking, other violence that's happening within the community. So those are basically the 3 types of programs that you're going to have. And then housing and all those different things. Not all rape crisis centers. So we are here as a coalition that is assisting with sexual violence, not domestic violence, even though we are partners with our sister program, the Pennsylvania Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Our specific audience is sexual violence. With the rape crisis centers across Pennsylvania, that's their primary focus, is to provide therapy, support at hospitals, support through the legal system, support to officers. So I used to work at a rape crisis center. I used to work at the YWCA in Harrisburg, which is also one of our rape crisis centers here. So to be able to have that experience to when an officer comes in, and I was a nighttime person, that midnight, someone's assaulted, and they come in and need to do a warm handoff to an individual, and to be able to have a person feel comforted and have an advocate there to support them through that process, that is a very tender moment, and you want a real live human being there to support that person while whether they're at the hospital, while they're making the decision on what they're going to do next, because it is their decision to make. And the officer also needs a partner in that process, and that's what advocates play a role in too. And I always like to bring that up around the officers, because we do have the criminal justice response too, but we are their partner in this space too, because they need to call on us along the same way with health systems. They need to be able to call on us too, and that's how we support. And rape crisis centers are that advocate on the ground to, your local law enforcement, your health centers, your emergency rooms. That is coming from the rape crisis centers.
Wow. What you guys do is important. Thankfully, I've never had to be involved in that world, but I know that it is real and it is every day. I did come from the EMS background, emergency medical services background, and in that realm also, you go, we think something's going on here, and we need to make sure we're asking the right questions and getting the law enforcement involved in the right ways, and that's a big deal. So thanks for the work you're doing. So you've been there at Respect Together even before the name was changed to Respect Together. How long have you been in this role?
So December will make 9 years that I've been here. So I've been a CEO now. Once December hit, it'll be 2 years. But for 7 years, I was the COO of the national arm, NSVRC, and then transitioned as the CEO 2 years ago. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what are some of the challenges you face as the CEO of the organization today?
Oh man, folks, when you take over from long-term leadership, or even new leadership, it's things you think because you've been working here for 7 years. You're like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. I was, pretty confident I could do it, but man, it was a learning curve. But financial support that's needed across the organization. While we are a pretty stable organization, we have sound foundation over the 50 years, donor support, grant support. We are pretty strong in that way, and even being able to support, like we took a loan out from the state treasurer to help support centers through we took a loan for their payment against us, and we're able to pay the interest rate on it and not give it back to them because of our donor support. So that's the type of strength that we have because of our long-standing donors and just the way that people are supporting us. But with that comes also with making sure that employees are confident in your leadership. And that's a hard space to be in, to be as open and transparent and give as much information as you can without you're hoping to take away fear from people, but sometimes when you give way too many details, you like take the fear level up. So it's a balance in that. And then also, making sure that you are having people come in or supporting people come in into a space that they really feel comfortable with being who they are, and not just having it be words on a paper. So, I think for me as a leader that I'm working at an organization that was already in this space of creating a culture, because I've been here 9 years, that we are already in a space of creating a culture of flexibility and understanding. In the CEO prior to me, she left through COVID. So there were so many things that we learned through
Yeah.
her experience as a leader. Now we're a hybrid organization where we are so much more flexible in people, how they come into the space, how we support people's families. And so our one CEO was over 20 something years and our next one was 5 years. So that type of leadership, and we have staff here that's been here over 20 something years. We have 51 staff, and we have a long, I think over 15 have 10 plus years. So we have, some good structure here. So there's that, and then helping people to see the future of the organization is
Yeah.
can be hard, like especially in this type in this time that we're in around budgets and this and that and the just how times change when you've been somewhere a long time. But so that's leadership. There's difficulty that just comes along with it, but I think because of my openness and my just the ear of I have stuff to learn, whether and I can't do it without you. That was one of the things I really learned from supervisors that I had to go way back. At 14 years old, I worked at McDonald's. It was my first job. I love telling
Okay.
this story. I had a shift supervisor, and she was the first person, her name was Lynn, that talked to me about customer care. Not really about customer care, but about seeing your teammate as your customer too,
Hmm.
about how to take care of your teammate, how to be kind to your teammate, how to be respectful, and how just important that was if you want to build this kind of camaraderie where someone will, if you're sick, they'll take this, they'll do that, like how you are really truly a team. And now closer to 50, being able to take that same experience at 50, at 14 years old that's been built up over the years on understanding of how important the internal team is and how important it is for us to build some type of respect and understanding for each other, how it has led to this space. And I think I'm such a better leader or supervisor, the word, whatever word people want to use, for those early experiences that I had because I have really, really good supervisors.
Awesome. So leadership can be lonely, and I hope you're not in that spot, but I know sometimes I am.
Yes.
What do you do when you're thinking, I know I need to grab the next gear. I know that I want to grow my leadership, but I don't have the person beside me or I'm not in the right group to continue growing. What do you do when you're a leader and you feel lonely in the sense that we've got to charge the next hill, but I'm not sure what the next hill looks like, or I need somebody beside me to charge the next hill? What do you do?
Before I applied for this position, so I've been working with the same leadership team this whole time, right? So we have our COO of the national arm. She's been here, over 25 years. I think Joyce has been here like 27, something like that. Our CFO, Heather, has been here maybe like 2 years under her. And I went to them both and I asked, how much longer will you be here? Will you give me 3 to 5 years if I apply for this? We were already a team. Well, I was the COO, that my coworker COO and CFO. I knew I would need them. I would need to be able to ask them questions. I would need the support to not have this like, you're here, I'm here because I'm now the CEO. I needed to be vulnerable, and I needed them to know it was going to be times that I was going to have to be very vulnerable and probably like lines, and I don't want to say lines would be blurred, but you couldn't think of me as a title, that I was going to need your help. And then also with them, that they were even helping me out, like, hey, I want to connect you with this CEO or this executive director to help you build, as we say, the table, your table of mentorship. My son at the time was working for United Way of Central PA, and his supervisor, Tom, well, the executive director, he said, if your mom gets the CEO position, because he's a long-term CEO, he said, I'm going to meet with her and do some mentorship because I remember what it was like. And as soon as it was announced, like within 3 weeks, he met with me. Like he met with me, my son connected it. Beauty of having kids young. Like now he's like 31 years old in a development role. He's like, tell your mom I'll meet with her. And so it was even me just connecting. Again, I have really good supervisors. Connecting back with my former CEO who is now retired. She was a mentor for me at Hamilton Health Center. And she's like, hey, Yolanda, let me walk you through what was helpful to me. So because there's things that certain conversations you can have internally, even with the CFO and the other COO, but there's other conversations that, like around if layoffs have to happen, budget things that I have to talk about that is not appropriate for me to have conversations with them about, but I need to have it with someone else. And then also taking advantage of the board, or that some folks might shy away from it, but it was really important to me to like have a really good relationship with our board. So I have one-on-one meetings with them on a regular basis. Have one-on-one meetings offered to our rape crisis centers, like so that I can go visit with them and we can just have like a really build our relationship. So that you have a question, you can ask me, and if I have one. But building that like mentorship table, like that quote unquote mentorship table, so we can bounce ideas off of each other, whether donor ideas, What event are you going to so I don't gotta go, you go, like we can like spread our wings differently. Has been so helpful in that way. But like I'm just tapping into folks that I already knew.
I love that. As you were saying that, I kept thinking podcasts are great, books are great, relationships are better. You having the relationship with your staff that is a deep, meaningful relationship. They've got your back, you've got their back. You can go a long way with that team. And then outside of the organization, having key relationships. Hey, I've got a question. Hey, what are your thoughts? I need some wisdom on this. Bounce some ideas off of them. Like that's so important. And I consistently try to do the same thing in my leadership as well. Question for you. There's two people I'd like for you to send a message to through this podcast. One is a person who has been in crisis or is in crisis right now. What could they do, or what's a word of encouragement they could do if something has happened to them, rape has happened, some kind of sexual abuse has happened, and they don't know what to do? Encourage that person. Then say a quick word encouraging other leaders like you in leadership roles as they're growing and looking towards the future.
What I would say if someone that is in crisis, I encourage you to reach out to your local rape crisis center. I truly do. Even if you don't go in, there's online support. They're a phone call away. Like no matter what budget conversation you hear, we are still here to pick up that phone to support you in every aspect that you need. I'm a child of sexual assault, and I truly wish I knew about the support services that were available back then and the way that our advocates really wrap around and support you in that way. Being an adult now and have gone through therapy and all those different things, I don't know where I would be at today, but man, I encourage people to reach out and get that warm handheld or just that warm touch, that warm conversation, or just the guidance that you need from the advocates that are here. And that's no matter what state you are in, no matter what county, city, the advocates are here to support you from start to finish. No matter if the start is today and the finish is 10 years from now, they are here.
And it sounds like
And
something you just said, Yolanda, that I like is it is not just they're going to send you a link, send you a book, but it's a relationship. You can talk with somebody who's a real live person who can help you navigate the next 1, 2, 4 days, weeks, whatever those look like. They can help you navigate whatever's in the future. And so, Yolanda, how would you encourage a new nonprofit leader who doesn't have 30 years of experience and is going, which end is up? How do I do this? What do I do? What are some resources? What are things you can say to encourage them?
oh man, for a new leader, I would say reach out. Don't forget your local community. Don't forget your local community. There are folks right beside you that are so ready to support you. What I had to learn was that I didn't have to do it all myself, and I didn't have to know it all. Like I truly, I think one of my best qualities is that I'm okay with admitting I don't know something.
Yeah.
And so I say to all leaders, be okay with admitting that you don't know it. You have teammates that know it and they are wonderful. Tap into them. I think one of my best things that I did was tap into our CFO and tap into our COO, tap into the management team that is here and be like, hey, I don't know this. I simply do not know it. How please let me know. Tell me what report to read. Tell me. I still do it to this day. So I'll say to any new leader, tap into your local resources that's right beside you that can talk you through. There's a ton of what are they called? Coalition, not coalitions, but commissions.
Like
Like we
networks.
have,
Okay, commissions.
yeah, we have that like the African American commission. We have the business commissions. We have LGBTQ plus commissions. Or commerce, whatever the words are that they're using in your city. And I'm naming out the specific ones based off of identity because it might be helpful to you. But like then we have panel who's specifically for Pennsylvania and nonprofits. But there's so many organizations that are here to help uplift your next step. And many of these services are all free. So like
Yeah.
don't think that you have to spend a ton of resources to be able to get help. You do not. I will say that other than my formal education, I've never had to pay for a leadership program or anything like that. Those are
Hmm.
all being offered to you for free. The handouts, the hand ups that people have offered me have all been no charge because it is meant to support me in my next step. My formal education is the only education that I've ever paid for. So yeah, I'm not saying that there's not great certificate programs and all of that. I'm just saying, like, when you
Yeah.
need a person to talk to, it's probably not the one that you're paying for. Before we skip, I did want to give the hotline number, the National
Do.
Sexual Assault Hotline number, because the 211 is specific to Pennsylvania. The National Sexual Assault Hotline number is 1-800-656-4673. Again, 1-800-656-4673. And so no matter where you're at, city, state, doesn't matter, it'll put you in line with your local rape crisis center. Your local advocate will pick up that hotline.
Yolanda, thanks so much for your time today. We've learned from you. It's been great hearing your story. Respect Together's doing some great work. So thank you for your time. And if anybody watching this podcast is leading a nonprofit and is wondering how do we get not just the leadership stuff done, but the back office work done, that's what Accordis, that's what my team, my company does. We do the accounting, database marketing for lots of great nonprofits across the country. So if you need us, the last screen here will have Yolanda's website and her information there. It'll have my company, Accordis, and my information, and also that rape crisis hotline that you can call. So thank you for watching Grow Healthy, Help People, a podcast by Accordis. Have a great day.
Thank you.